Next question, let's move, and we're going to talk a little bit about recreation. Jared Holt, I'd like you to answer first. You said in an interview with the St. George News that you wanted to add your voice to ongoing efforts to create new recreational facilities for the town's youth. What specifically do you mean by that comment, and how would you fund it?
Well, I guess I'm a little concerned about providing activities for the youth. Ideally, it would be nice if they had jobs and things like that. I think we can do some things that aren't terribly expensive with the city park. If you put in tennis courts or a soccer field or a handball court or things of that nature, I'd like to see those things move forward. And that's not to say that I know there's been a lot of work that has already been done on those things. And I do think as a community we ought to come together and see to it.
So I'm looking at, I would like to see, we've got the money right now for our splash pad. I'd like to see a skate park over there. I'd love to see a rec center over there. I'd like to see different activities. You know, they came to the council with a rec director, and I was not in support of that because to me it sounded like someone was just going to be running the sports. My kids don't play sports. Not that I don't have an interest. I've been on the baseball board, I've coached, I've coached basketball. I participate still, but I didn't want to see the city pay for something like that. I did come around, I did change my mind, and I was the first person to go. I think it has a lot to do with who they hired. And I went to that person and I told him I loved all the programs he's implementing. I think it would be great if we had a place where we could have that, not be in the city council chambers or at City Hall. I think he's doing a great job, and I think we could do a lot more if we had a place for him to do that kind of stuff at.
This is a main part of the reason that I'm running for city council. I've coached a lot, basketball and baseball, and one of the problems that we had, we had agreements worked out with Washington County School District where we could get into the high school facilities, and we just had to work through the city. And the city was not responsive to that at all. It was very difficult. That took us a period of years to get to the point where they finally hired a rec director, and we could get in with some of the sports to get into the gym. And I truly believe that the youth have been underserved. One of the things that I would like to see happen is not a rec center, but a community center that we could build. We have the land for it over there. You can run, there's a lot that can be done. You can put up a still building, you can put a couple courts in there, you can put a running track in there, where people have a place in the community to go in the winter months where it's cold. You can use that for the Corn Fest, the 4th of July, the 24th. But you got to prioritize. I think clearly the flood and the infrastructure for the electrical have to come first and see where we're at that point.
I'm with everybody else. I totally agree with the need for activities for our youth. I think since the city has went ahead and hired on a part-time basis a director to go over our activities and develop that, has been a tremendous help to the citizens, to all the volunteers, to the youth especially. And yes, there's many things that need to be done yet. Talking about, a building and those things that, here again, it comes down to budget. And that's what we need to look at, is where we can find the funds to build a rec center. For those that may not be real acquainted, at the City Hall, there is a plot there, a plat, I should say, proposed for the city park. And it shows everything that's been talked about here. But the bottom line of the whole thing is funding. Where does the money come from? And this is one thing that the city is sensitive to. They're working very closely with our athletic director, sports activities, to make it simple and try to fill the needs for our youth. But yes, the youth need to be served.
I as well agree that the youth need to be served. I do disagree that the city was unresponsive as far as you know, getting some communication with the school district. We did go through a period there where there was a lot of confusion. The school district actually rewrote some policies as far as policies and procedures to be able to gain access to those facilities at the school. Once those policies and procedures were wrote and clarified, so there was no more, maybe you can, maybe you can't, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. Once that was clarified as to exactly what it was, we did have a very lengthy meeting with the school district to line out exactly what that was and to put into place. And then that was whenever the time came, as we shuffled through, and then eventually we were able to hire a rec director. And now he is our go-to to work between the city and the school. And you know, I was with Darcy, had some mixed feelings about doing it, but now looking back, I'm very grateful that we did it the way we've done it. And it has made it very convenient that we can utilize the school. That's a great facility up there, right here I should say. We might as well use it as much as we can. Our community pays into it and our community is involved. We might as well use it where we can.
I think the issue with the school is a big problem. It's hard to access the gym here at the school, for example, if you want to, for either private purposes or if you have a team. You have to go through insurance processes and then pay a fee. I think that especially hits a community like Enterprise hard, as opposed to an area like St. George that have community centers and so forth. We need to think about that as a community, or try to open up the school. And I know that's not the local school officials' issue. That's a district issue.
Name, but can I respond to that?
Yes.
There's, you know, this idea that they were open to working with the youth programs, that's just not how it happened. It was difficult. What they had to do is come up with $8,000. We're spending this money on other things. We're going to come up with $8,000 to put in a rec director so we can get wrestling programs, gymnastics, the dance classes, everything else in the high school. And I would say that they were not responsive to that at all. And when they were looking at putting the Little League lights on the Little League field, the donations were there to put the lights in, and the city's response was, you're going to have to pay $50,000 in impact fees when they could have had those lights there. And I would say that the city has not been responsive.